Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
Adventures at Sea will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm BJ Williams. With me is Jim Alexander to tell us about his latest book, the USS John A. Bowle. Susie Beasley will talk with Ruby Soutier. Kids Corner will feature Shelley Ziegler-Hill. We also have Doug Benton, Clyde Martin, and Phil Talbert. Coming up, Jim Alexander.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, BJ Williams.
With us tonight is Jim Alexander. He has been on the program a number of times since he is both an author and a publisher here in Oklahoma. And he has brought us tonight a book that, in a way, it's a continuation of a book you've already told us about, isn't it,
Yeah, I
Jim?
call this my Tom Brokaw book.
Right.
It's a sequel to an earlier one.
Right. But both of the books are about a ship in the U.S. Navy,
That's
right?
correct. A ship that was in service for over 25 years through 3 wars. And the first we did the book that you have in your lap there that was 2 years ago. And there were a number of people that when they saw the book that now wish that they had stories in there. Or anyway, it's so popular that we decided just to do a second one. So we did a second one that focuses on the crew rather than the ship.
Now, these are actually a collection of stories from people who served on that ship.
That's
right?
correct, yes.
And
All the way from admirals to seamen.
admirals contributed. I'm
Yes.
impressed.
We have 2 admirals in there.
Uh-huh. Now, the Bowle actually went into service late in World War II.
Late in World War II. It participated in the Okinawa campaign. That's the only battle star that it won during World War II.
Mm-hmm. And then it went on to the Korean War and the war in Vietnam.
And the war in Vietnam.
And I noticed by the outfit you've got on that you must have been on that ship at some point.
Yes, I was on that ship. If you can see the cover of the picture, I put myself right in the middle of the cover.
Well,
This is what I looked like in 1949.
Right. I think as editor and publisher of the book, you need a little bit of star billing there.
Right.
But again, this was just a collection. Now, did people write into you and say, I've got a story to tell?
Yes, and even after we got through and had to put the back cover on the book, I still got stories coming in. So.
Well, maybe you'll have to do a John A. Bowle III.
I don't know about that. But anyway, it's been fun, and it's been very meaningful to the crew, and lots of stories in there, some of them silly, a lot of them have to do with friendships. You know, that's the thing that these people remember most are the role models and the friendships that they have. And some characters seem to have more, I use the word character advisedly, seem to have more friends than others. We have one ship's cook named Dan Klotfelter. It's a funny name to start with, and he was a funny guy. And he got the nickname Deacon, so it was always Deacon Dan. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like he was involved in more escapades than anybody else I can think of.
Well, I noticed that his name seemed to keep coming up, and he led a very adventurous life. I'm amazed that you can get into that kind of trouble on just a small ship.
Well, the destroyer is small in terms of warships, but it's 400 feet long and weighs over 2,000 tons, so it's pretty good. It packs a tremendous wallop. So, yeah, this is a U.S. Navy destroyer, so it's a full-fledged fighting ship and then some. Mm-hmm. Probably the most potent ship that ever was built, pound for pound.
Right. And how many people were on it?
Approximately 300. Mm-hmm. It varied from time to time, but a full complement would be about 350.
I noticed that you start this book off with a story about one of the captains. Actually, it's told from the point of view of one of the sailors who seemed to have a really meaningful relationship with the captain.
Yes, this was by a young sailor who's, this is his first ship, and the captain was a seasoned veteran, of course. He's already a World War II hero. and was the first captain of the ship, and he just had tremendous admiration of the crew. He later went on to become an admiral. He's now deceased, but and this yeoman that was what he called his talker, that followed him around and talked on the sound-powered phones, developed a close relationship, and he just admired the captain tremendously and felt that he set him on the right path in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really neat when you can find somebody who takes an interest in you and can kind of give you guidelines or signposts, say this is the way to go. This is what a person actually does in these situations. So, I noticed you didn't mind telling a few tales about yourself. Should I bring up the fact that you tried to shoot the destroyer one evening?
Well, I argue that they shouldn't put guns in the hands of ordinary sailors.
Right.
But the standing watch, you carry a .45 caliber automatic, and when you change the watch, you transfer the gun, and you pop the clip out of it. And it's been so long, I don't remember now. You pop the clip out, and you pull the chamber back to show that there's no thing, and then you snap it. Well, I got my timing wrong one night, and I pulled the chamber back before I popped the clip, and of course I loaded a round into the thing, and then when I fired it, and we were under cover, and it hit the steel overhead, bounced off of the boat, ricocheted off the steel deck and everything else, and it was a thrill.
I bet a lot of people noticed that you made that mistake, didn't they?
I never made that. It's a wonder somebody wasn't hit or killed.
Yeah.
But because in that enclosed compartment, it really ricocheted around.
I'll bet it did.
But I did a few other stupid things that I didn't write about.
Well, I think we all should have the privilege of not telling everything about our lives.
Yeah.
But this is a nice collection of, it's got a really neat variety, I thought, of stories. As you pointed out, some are sad, some are funny, but it focuses on the people and how these men really learn to live with each other and to blow off steam.
And these are stories that anybody could enjoy. You don't have to be a military fan or a Navy fan or ex-Navy to enjoy it. These are stories that I think anybody can enjoy. My wife, who's also an author, read the final manuscript of this, and several times I heard her laughing.
Right. Well, there are some pretty funny stories in there, and a few that really touched you.
Right.
When you're reading them.
And several of them are patriotic. Mm-hmm. And some of them wrote, they call it an ode or a poem or a tribute to the ship or to Navy life. One of them in there is called I Am the American Sailor, and we're going to use that as a reading in the memorial service that the ship is going to have next month. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people have a lot of reverence and love for the ship. And for many of us, and myself included, even though I served on other ships, this was the most formative period of my life.
Mm-hmm. And I think that comes through beautifully in this collection, that this was, as you said, the most formative, the most meaningful, and certainly the thing that really set the tenor for the rest of your life.
Right, and the thing about it, what I encourage people, and I work with other people to write their memoirs, what I encourage people to do that is caught up in this is to write these stories down, because I tell them that when you're gone, the story's gone.
That's right.
And one of the men in here who has, well, in fact, the one that sent me the album of pictures, he gets one free book for having submitted a story, but he said he's going to order 9 more for his grandchildren. That's
neat. That's really great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and we could talk a bit more about this, but I want to thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thanks. We've had with us today Jim Alexander telling us about his book, The USS John A. Ball. You can find it at your library and your local bookstore. Coming up next, we've got Susie Beasley. She'll be talking with Ruby Soutier about another book I think you'll enjoy.
Ruby, tell us about this book on tape by J.D. Robb, Naked in Red.
It's a mystery, and it's very interesting because it is set in the near future. It's like set in like 2050 or something like that. And they have all these interesting appliances. They have something called an auto chef that you program in, and it serves your food hot and ready, and various things like that. But this is a mystery. And it features a police lieutenant named Eve Dallas. And the mystery, that title is very literal. They discover a licensed companion naked on her bed, murdered. And Eve Dallas has to solve the case of who committed the murder. It's a great book. It's the first in a whole series. We do have some of them available on tape. They were originally all came out in little paperback, mass market paperback format. But another interesting thing, in case people don't know, J.D. Robb is actually Nora Roberts, who is a very popular romance and romantic suspense author. This particular title is much more hard-edged. It's a mystery, and it's different from her usual romances.
So alter ego of Nora.
Kind of, yes. It still has touches of romance in it, and it's a great book. It's probably, because it is a murder mystery, it's probably not the kind of book that you want to listen to in your car if you're ferrying your children to school. But it's a great
Is this
book.
particular, the library edition, unabridged? Is it full text?
This particular one is abridged. It's 6 hours, and they did a really good job with the abridgment, because I've read the novel and now I've listened to the tape, and they captured the flavor very well.
Yes, it's pretty good. And is J.D. Robb, a.k.a. Nora Roberts, narrating, or is it someone else reading this?
No, it's someone else reading it, and she does a really good job. She changes her voice a little bit, not parody. It's not like a parody. She does a very good job, very subtly changes her voice as she does the different characters, and it's really good.
Well, Ruby, we certainly appreciate you coming and sharing with us Naked in Death by J.D. Robb, a.k.a. Nora Roberts, a suspense mystery. And this is an audio cassette, better known as a book on tape or a road read. And this is available at your local library. Checks out for 2 weeks. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Ruby.
Thanks, Ruby and Susie. And now I have a few books for you. Just recently, I read in the Washington Post a comment that said, even with all the video we have seen of the recent tragedy in New York and the Pentagon, still photographs still seem to convey a really emotional story. And that ties in rather well with this first book I'd like to tell you about, which is called Photos That Changed the World, the 20th Century. It has the famous photo of the opening of King Tut's coffin. It has the AIDS memorial quilts laid out in the mall in Washington, D.C. There are sidebars on each photograph explaining who took the photo and its impact. You'll find the Hindenburg on fire, Lindbergh's landing in Paris, the death of a Spanish militiaman taken during the Spanish Civil War, Gandhi and his spinning wheel, Marilyn Monroe, the East German border guard escaping to the west through the barbed wire at the Berlin Wall, Marilyn Monroe in her famous dress, the Soweto uprising, the strike at the Lenin shipyards in Poland. There are lots of photographs in here that many of us have seen in newspapers or magazines, and it's a really fascinating look back at the 20th century and the impact that media has had on our lives so that we can be affected by what is happening half a world away simply because we see a really well taken and presented photograph. If you're interested in history, I think you'll enjoy this. Photography as well, because it's got a lot to say about the impact of photography. This next book is Carnage and Culture, Landmark Battles in the Rise of Western Power. It's by Victor Davis Hanson. Hanson is a military historian who is a professor of classics at California State University, Fresno. Among his other books are The Other Greeks, The Western Way of War, and The Soul of Battle. He does tend to stir up a bit of controversy with his books, but he is a very good writer. He has really provocative ideas, and it's very worthwhile to read his books. I would like to read an excerpt from this, which is really, his book is a treatise on why the Western military is as effective as it is. And he said, "To defeat the West, it is often necessary not merely to repel its armies, but to extinguish its singular monopoly over the dissemination of information, to annihilate not merely its soldiers, but its emissaries of free expression." This strange propensity for self-critique, civilian audit, and popular criticism of military operations, itself part of the larger Western tradition of personal freedom, consensual government, and individualism, thus poses a paradox. The encouragement of open assessment and the acknowledgement of error within the military eventually bring forth superior planning and a more flexible response to adversity. The knowledge that military conduct is to be questioned by soldiers themselves, to be audited and scrutinized by those outside the armed forces altogether, and to be interpreted, editorialized, and often mischaracterized by reporters to the public can ensure accountability and provide for a wide exchange of views. A very provocative book. I think you'd enjoy it quite a bit. And coming up next, we have Kids Corner. I was able to talk with Shelley Ziegler Hill of the Belle Isle Library about a book for our young people. Shelley, what have you brought for us tonight?
I brought Queen's Own Fool by Jane Yolen and Robert J. Harris.
Okay, now is this historical fiction?
It is historical fiction. It's a wonderful work of historical fiction.
Okay, and now this is a children's book, obviously.
It is. It's in the juvenile category, which usually entails maybe 9 to 12-year-olds. But I would say because of the length of this book, it's about 400 pages, and the language is very hard to decipher because it has some 16th century words in it. I would recommend this book for maybe 12 to 15-year-olds, maybe to go into the young adult area.
Okay. Now, historical fiction, even for that age, is quite a lot, isn't it?
It is. This is really a tough read. And for me as an adult, I found it difficult at times. Some of the lingo and the language that's used, it's really hard to decipher. So I would recommend for someone who has very good language skills and patience. Even though it's a wonderful story, there are some times where some lulls in it, so you have to really just keep going with it.
Okay. Now, this is about Mary, Queen of Scots, right?
She was the Queen of Scotland and France in the 16th century, and she's also the sister of the Queen of England at that time.
Okay. And there was a great deal of intrigue, as I understand.
Oh, yes. She had a very, I guess you would say, ill-fated life. And this story is really, it's narrated by her jester, Nicola, who is called the Queen's Fool, essentially. And she narrates the story from the time she becomes the Queen's Fool on through to the destination of the Queen. I'm not going to give the ending away.
Okay. Well, I think if you're familiar with Mary, Queen of Scots, you know how she ends.
Yes, you're going to know, and it does follow that.
Right.
But it's very interesting because I think what really captures the story is in the author's notes that at the very beginning, Jane Yolen says, "Where history begins, storytelling, or where history ends, storytelling begins."
Right.
And that really sums up this book quite well.
Yeah. Now, did queens normally have a female jester? I guess in my mind, I've always thought of jesters as being men.
Mm-hmm, and that's quite true. That's why this was kind of Nicola was kind of like a novel fool, because it was odd for a queen to have a female fool, but that is actually true. She really did have a fool named Nicola.
Mm-hmm. So the writers took that and wrote the whole story.
Kind of just ran with it, yeah, and kind of put some dramatic touches in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds neat. Now, if I'm not interested in history, would I enjoy this book?
Well, see, I am not a history buff myself, so when I've heard a lot of good things about this book, so I picked it based on what I had heard. But I think so, because it's so interesting. It's not really about history. I mean, there's a historical figure, but it really, I don't know, it has such a neat story to it.
It's an adventure story.
Yes, very much so, very much.
Thank you, Shelley. We've had with us today Shelley Ziegler Hill telling us about Queen's Own Fool by Jane Yolen and Robert Harris, and you can find this book at your library and your favorite bookstore. It's time now for the New York Times bestseller list. We'll start out with hardback fiction. Number 10 on that list is Lake Wobegon Summer, 1956 by Garrison Keillor, Long Time No See by Susan Isaacs, Shock by Robin Cook, The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, Suzanne's Diary for Nicholas by James Patterson, The Smoke Jumper by Nicholas Evans, Mercy by Julie Garwood, Envy by Sandra Brown. Number 2 is Valhalla Rising by Clive Cussler, and number 1 is Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub. On the nonfiction list, number 10 is Savage Beauty by Nancy Milford, Living a Life That Matters by Harold Kushner, Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom, Ava's Man by Rick Bragg, Ghost Soldiers by Hampton Sides, Founding Brothers by Joseph Ellis, Crossing Over by John Edward, The Wild Blue by Stephen Ambrose, number 2 is John Adams by David McCullough, and number 1 is Jack, Straight from the Gut by Jack Welch with John Byrne. On the children's list, number 10 is Quidditch Through the Ages by Kenilworthy Wisp, The Case of the Screaming Scarecrow by Judy Katchke, Corduroy's Best Halloween Ever by Don Freeman, Conversations with J.K. Rowling by Lindsay Fraser, Holes by Louis Sekar, The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling, Captain Underpants and the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman by Dav Pilkey, number 2 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, and number 1 is Harry Potter and the Prisoners of Azkaban, also by J.K. Rowling. Coming up next, we have Doug Benton of the Metropolitan Library System and the Oklahoma Gazette. He'll be talking with that renowned radio opera host and actor, Clyde Martin.
Thank you, BJ. Doug, I see you have a book about Arthur Conan Doyle called Teller of Tales.
Teller of Tales. It's a new biography of Conan Doyle by Daniel Stashower, who is himself a mystery writer. Although the emphasis in this book is not on Doyle as a mystery writer. I hate to say this because I love Sherlock Holmes, and I reread the entire Sherlock Holmes canon every year. But he wasn't a very good mystery writer. If what you're looking for is a puzzle kind of mystery of the Agatha Christie sort, Conan Doyle's mysteries tended to be more adventure stories, especially the longer ones. A Study in Scarlet and The Valley of Fear, for instance, are both really adventure stories with a little bit of detection stuck in here and there to make them, to pass them off as Sherlock Holmes stories. Excuse me. Even The Sign of the Four is sort of derived from Wilkie Collins' The Moonstone, with the adventure in India and all that sort of thing. But anyway, the emphasis in this book is on Conan Doyle's later life, his career as an advocate of spiritualism, when he actually believed that communication with the dead was possible. He was called the St. Paul of spiritualism because he traveled around the world and gave lectures to huge audiences. And there are some photos in here of a trip that he made to Australia, and he's speaking to a large hall, and the place is absolutely packed. I mean, it was standing room only, sitting in the aisles kind of thing. And Stashower admits that a lot of this was people coming to see the creator of Sherlock Holmes. They weren't particularly interested, perhaps, in his spiritualist views, but they wanted to meet the creator of Sherlock Holmes. And also there was a kind of morbid curiosity in some crowds because because everybody had thought that they confused Sherlock Holmes with Conan Doyle and thought that if Holmes was this thinking machine, this great rational creature, that Conan Doyle must be the same type of person. And of course he wasn't. You don't confuse the creator with the created. Most people know that, and I guess most people did then too, but there was still some confusion. And so audiences thought, here this great rational thinking man is losing it. He's going a little crazy. And Stashower says that even today, if you go to England and you go to used bookstores and rare bookstores and look for Conan Doyle material, the owners will automatically assume that you're an American because the English gave up on Conan Doyle before he died in 1930. I mean, everybody loved him as the old grandfatherly creator of Sherlock Holmes, but his reputation as a writer really took a nosedive.
Were most of his things serialized?
Yes, in the Strand magazine. Almost everything he wrote came out as in serial in the Strand magazine. The longer home stories and the science fiction things with Professor Challenger as well.
Well, thank you, Doug. This sounds interesting. Teller of Tales, The Life of Arthur Conan Doyle.
Thanks to Doug and Clyde. With me now is Phil Talbert, who is manager of the Capitol Hill Library. And Phil is here to tell us about something that kind of looks a little bit like a party, given what you have brought here today, Phil.
Yes, it is. The Capitol Hill Library is going to be celebrating its 50th anniversary this fall in November, and we are excited. We're going to have one of the most upbeat and joyful events that the whole library system has ever had, I believe.
And anybody can come and help have that fun,
Definitely.
can't
It's going to be open to the entire community of Oklahoma City. Anyone that is interested to come and is welcome to come and enjoy. It's going to be a lot of fun.
they? Now, there is a particular, there's a Saturday afternoon that sounds like it's going to be really the most fun. I
Yes, we're going to have an all-day carnival from 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the evening, and we're going to have a string band, we're going to have music of all kinds, we're going to have a clown, face painting, a moonwalk, free hot dogs, just a big celebration out there.
And what date is that?
That's going to be Saturday, November the 10th, from 11 until 4 p.m.
Okay. It sounds like a lot of fun, so people
Yes.
can just come in and grab a hot dog and do a
Right.
moonwalk.
Sure.
But there are other things that are going on that week before the
Yes.
Saturday.
The entire week is going to be a week of celebration and enjoyment. We've got something for everyone that we can represent in the community. A pillow making, a quilted pillow program on that Monday, a little group coming in from Colombia, Venezuela on that Tuesday for the kids, and also on Wednesday a group to represent the Latino community. We're going to have a little light luncheon that day. Thursday we're having a big luncheon for the entire community also, including the entire business community with music by Edgar Cruz and a catered luncheon and cake. Friday we'll have all kinds of giveaways and door prizes as people come in, and then on Saturday the big carnival. Yes.
Now, I noticed that you have a quilt here in the background.
Yes, as part of our celebration, the staff of the Capitol Hill Library has developed a set of commemorative banners. We've got 7 banners with 4 squares on each banner, and they are fabulous. We went all out for the library, and we're going to have one final step to do, which is to actually sew down the outer edges, or the binding as it's called, and anyone is welcome to come on Wednesday afternoons in the month of October from 11 o'clock until 3 in the afternoon to help to finish sewing those down, and that'll get the rest of the community involved in that project as well.
Now, I believe you told me earlier that you don't have to be an actual seamstress in order to come in and put a few stitches in the
That's
quilt.
right. We want everyone to be involved in this. We're also going to give people an opportunity to tell their story about the Capitol Hill Library also on Wednesday afternoon. So if you've got a story about when you were a young person and you came to the Capitol Hill Library, or maybe you live near that area and you want to talk about that, we're going to do some videotaping of that throughout the month also on Wednesdays.
Great. Sounds like it's going to be a really great time. Now, tell us again, particularly on Saturday, the date and the time.
That's Saturday, November the 10th from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m.
And anybody who's hungry for a hot dog or
Right.
really wants to do a moonwalk
Yes.
or listen to a string band.
And we're giving away free books to the kids also.
Oh, neat.
Yes, yes.
So it sounds like load up the whole family and chug
Yes.
on down to the Capitol Hill Library.
That's right.
Sounds great, Phil. Well, thank you very much for telling us about it.
Thank you.
If you want more information about what's going to be happening at the Capitol Hill Library or about programs at any of the other libraries, you can log on to our website at www.mls.lib.ok.us. We'll tell you where the libraries are, when they're open, and what's going on at each one of them, besides being able to check out the catalog and put books and other materials on reserve. You might want to drop by one of your libraries this week because we are celebrating Banned Book Weeks. Everything from Huckleberry Finn to the Bible has been banned at one time or another, but public libraries hang in there. I think you'll enjoy the exhibit. We'll see you again next week.
Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.